Trigger warning, this podcast contains mature themes and discussions of cults, manipulation, and trauma. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Cultimatum, the culture of cults and human trafficking, where we expose the dark side of control, manipulation, and the human stories behind them. I'm Anonymous Andrew, executive producer and investigator into cult dynamics and coercive control.
And I'm Melody, a cult survivor and advocate for awareness and healing.
This is Cultimatum.
Before we jump into today's episode, we just want to gently acknowledge something very meaningful. This conversation with Monique happened to be recorded on the anniversary of her sister's passing. Monique has chosen to dedicate this episode in her sister's memory. She is sharing her story not only for herself, but also in honor of her sister, carrying her love, her loss, and her legacy into this important conversation. And Monique will share in the episode a little bit of her sister's story, so you'll understand that more as you listen. And with that, we'll continue on with the episode.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cultimatum podcast, the culture of cults and human trafficking. And my name is Anonymous Andrew. And with me tonight is my co-host Melody, who is going to tell us who we have on the show tonight.
Hello, Andrew. Today we are joined by Monique Eddy, an ex-Jehovah's Witness who came to Cultimatum podcast looking for a place where where her story could finally be told. Monique is currently battling breast cancer, and even in the midst of that battle, she felt it was important to speak her truth and tell her story. She found us through her aunt, and we are incredibly grateful that she's here with us to share her story today with us and our listeners. Monique, welcome to Cultimatum.
Hello. It's great to be here.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And at such a crucial time in your life, and you're recovering in two different ways. So Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What I know of the Jehovah's Witnesses is many people are born into that. Were you born into it?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yes, I was. My sister, she was about a year older than me, myself, and then my younger brother, he was about a year younger than me, were born into it. It came from my father's mother. They are the ones who originally were Jehovah's Witnesses. So that's where it came from.
So your father's mother.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so therefore your father was brought up in it as well.
Yes.
And then when he married your mom, he got her in.
I believe her family had also started going. I think that's how he met her.
Met her. I was just going to say
Yes.
met her. Okay, good.
Yes. She was very young at the time. In fact, she was only 14, and I believe him to have been around about 21 to 23. I think he might have been 23 when I was born. So they had my sister at an even younger, but they allowed that. The religion, the organization, the families that were involved, my grandparents and my mother's parents, they were, a pretty impoverished community. And I think maybe at that time, they probably thought that it was going to be a good thing for their daughter, I guess.
So what did it look like for you growing up in the Jehovah's Witness? Can you kind of paint us a picture of what that was like for you, what your day-to-day was like?
Yes. So my father and my mother were not married for very long. In fact, my little brother was not my dad's. He adopted my brother, though, when he was born and gave him his last name. The biological father was never in the picture. So, not long after my parents were no longer together, my father kidnapped me and my brother and actually took us across state lines to Kansas. There was an Amber Alert out for us. He was able to the religion helped him through a lot of the traumatic experiences that I had growing up, from starting, with the kidnapping, abuse, throughout our entire upbringing, and the suicide of my oldest sister when she was 17 years old, right before her 18th birthday. And then my father also killed himself um, when he was in his 60s. And then my younger brother just passed away a few years ago. He had severe alcoholism to the point of dying at 43 years old. So it was kind of a long way around, I guess, a suicide.
I'm going to ask, do you think that all of those tragedies were either directly or indirectly related to the Jehovah's Witness organization?
Yes. We learned a long time ago that the organization covers for the perpetrators.
Oh, yeah.
Me and my siblings, yes. So when my father made it across state lines and didn't get in trouble for what he did, eventually later he went back and took my sister because she had been left in Colorado um, with my mom. He attempted to get her too at the time, but was unable to. So, and there was a court order prior to that of how the arrangement was supposed to be done, and he just had completely ignored that order and did what he wanted to do and took me and my brother, and later on went back for my sister. The organization did a lot of covering for him. He led a double life. He ended up marrying a woman from the small town that he fled to with me and my brother. And she had 2 children, a son and a daughter. We were all around about the same age. She wasn't in a relationship with their father at the time, so when she met my father, they pretty much, they got married pretty quickly, and it was a blended family from there forward. And on the outside of all the workings behind the curtains with the Jehovah's Witnesses and the elders, um, the covering up of everything. No one really knew everything that we were really going through. I think people knew that it was pretty bad. Family knew that it was bad. Our peers knew that it was bad, but I don't think anybody really knew to the extreme that it was, because that's just an extreme, and not to, lessen the, experiences of anybody else by any means. All I'm saying is that it's pretty severe when you have 3 family members out of 4 that are bloodly related that committed suicide.
Right.
I believe directly related to all of this. And, my father led a double life, and so that was always covered up for.
I have 2
That
questions. How old were you
Yes.
when you were kidnapped, and how long were you with your father?
I think I was around maybe 2 or 3,
Okay, quite
and my
young.
brother was still pretty an infant. He was still just a baby at the time. And what was your next question? I'm sorry.
How long were you with him?
All the way until I graduated, and I was a young graduate. My birthday is in August, so I was 17 when I graduated, and they really did everything that they could do to try to keep me from leaving. But I had an escape plan ahead of that. Pretty much when my sister died, she killed herself in our high school girls' bathroom. She took a gun to school, one of my father's guns. He also did a lot of illegal sales and collections of guns. There's just a lot. There is quite a lot more to this than uh, um, I can even touch on, I think,
Or it sounds like it. Yeah,
in one
Yeah.
setting. But so I left after I graduated, and they even threatened me that I wouldn't be able to return to school to graduate with my class. My sister died, right before she was supposed to graduate, and right before she would have turned 18. So the next year after she passed was when I was to graduate, and they were really trying to keep a lid on everything and keep things under control after that, because it kind of blew the lid off of everything when that happened. It was going to be a lot harder to cover up a lot of stuff, and they really didn't want us around, talking to our peers at school, or teachers, or anybody about, the life that we had led, or that we had at home, the things that we had suffered, the abuse, the sexual abuse. Um, and they also had said that she had not left a letter. And she did. We had learned later that there was a note that she left when she died, but my father had intercepted it. The police department knew of the letter, but it exposed too much. And I don't know how my father got a hold of the letter, but he did, and he disposed of it. And they also did a pregnancy test on her, and they told us she was not pregnant, but to find out later that was false.
so she was
Now, we
pregnant.
don't know some of it, we don't know the full whatever, because, he's passed. I don't know that my stepmother, she really enabled a lot of things. She was literally his right hand
Enabler.
partner. Yes. And absolutely everything that she knew that was going on. And, she participated in all of the covering up and of the abuse. Even at one point, my older stepbrother, which was her oldest son, he was just a few years older than me and maybe a year or two older than my sister. They had removed him from the home. He went to foster care, and they really didn't want us to get any, you're not allowed to do any kind of outside counseling, family counseling,
Right.
anything like that. Everything goes to the elders, in front of the elders. They want to know the details of absolutely everything. And then they find a way to cover it all up. There were times that my dad had been, or one time that I know of for sure, that he had been disfellowshipped, and that was around the time I believe that him and my mother were divorced. But then he was reinstated later, but he went to prison. Before he killed himself, he had been in prison for a few years for sexual assault and some other things. And that's actually, sorry, I don't know where to go with all of
Okay,
this. It's so
okay,
much.
it's a lot.
Everything's just started
It,
flooding back, and I'm
it's
starting to
and that's fine.
remember literally
Monique,
every part of the story.
Monique, you
It could
have
be a lot.
this is a tough story to tell.
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, and you gave us permission to talk about that you're recovering from breast cancer and you are in current treatment. So, what that's going, the chemicals going through your body right now, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So, take it easy on yourself. We're
Thank you.
we'll take it one step at a time.
Okay.
I I lost track. So there were three suicides. So there was dad, sister, and brother. Correct.
Yes. Yes.
And the brother was more of, you said, of an alcoholism, slow death. So that was okay.
Yes.
The sister who
Yes.
went to the school with the weapon, which is very unusual for women to do
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes.
You said that there was some indication that she might have been pregnant.
Yes.
Do we know who the father might have been?
No, it was something that they never discussed with us.
Mm.
There was even before her funeral, and people had come over to the house to visit us. Of course, family had come from out of state. I think people were just kind of sitting with me and grieving with me in my room at the time. And my dad, and of course, there were witnesses and elders, out in the rest of the house. But he came and he pulled my aunt, which is his youngest sister, from the room. And he told her to be careful about the things that were said in the room because we were being recorded.
You're kidding.
No, there were a lot of times that we were being recorded. Uh, yes.
I have a more of an educational question because it never came up, but I've learned throughout the podcast, as people know, Melody is the survivor of a cult, and I'm not. I'm the outsider, so I'm learning. So in the Jewish religion, for example, when somebody passes away, they sit shiva, right? They take
Hmm.
I think a day or two, and then and you come over and you visit the family. And I believe in the Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't believe in death. Like when you die, you or is it or that's the 144,000 souls that you are chosen if you're baptized. Is that correct?
Well, correct, but even, there's more people than 144,000
That's
baptized,
I've been
but
saying that from day one. How can
yeah,
you?
so that's what I'm saying. It's very confusing.
It is.
Yes, we all knew actually from a very young age that none of this, and it probably had a lot to do with the abuse that we were introduced to, was that this wasn't right. So none of my siblings or I were ever baptized.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. When we left, we left after, my sister had passed, but they really tried to, prevent that from happening, but they had pretty much lost all control after that. So, and my father had gone to prison, for a while, and then it was after he had gotten out, his mental state was even worse off at that time. There was a lot of mental health illnesses in my family, but nothing had ever been addressed because that's just not what you do.
Right.
As a Jehovah's Witness, nobody has a mental illness. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Or these things aren't happening to cause, and nobody talks about them. They're ashamed.
And Melody, this is the conversation we had last night on another episode where the any religion, Jehovah's Witness, whether it's a cult or whether it's a mainstream religion like Christianity or Episcopalian, where you can walk into any brick and mortar building, like a nice, pretty church, and it's a safe sanctuary that you can go in and feel safe and peaceful. And you would think that because I know for a fact that I went I was brought up Catholic, and I had some mental issues growing up,
Mhm.
like many teenagers and young adults, and my father would take me to some of the priests, and I would try to get help from the priests. So for Jehovah's Witness to turn a blind eye to mental illness, which is where you would want to seek refuge, seek salvation, seek help for that type of illness, and yet they seem to. I
Well,
probably shouldn't use the word shun it, but they turn you away and say there's
Mhm.
no such thing, right?
well, the big thing
Yes.
is, Andrew, in most cults, a lot of cults, I'm not gonna say all, but it is almost treated as, like, demonic possession, and that's why a shame
Mhm.
comes with it, because they don't want, like, the adults in the family don't want anybody in the congregation to think their child may have a demon. And so because I know that was in my religion, if you'd had a mental illness, it would have been deemed that you were possessed by a demon, and there would have been, like, an exorcism. So a
Yeah,
lot of
and then they
times
definitely
and
don't
that
want
comes
you
with
to
the
talk to
shame.
out.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
And they
Go
definitely don't want you to talk to outside people about it because what that will do is, of course, they're going to find out that there's something wrong here, and then that uncovers the abuse that's going on at home. So they don't want you seeking any, what do they call that at school? The counselor at school.
Guidance counselor.
Right.
Yeah.
And they had gotten upset because there were times that, me and my siblings, we would try to tell relatives, we would try to tell friends, we would try to tell, the counselor at school. And it was such a small community. It was obvious to everybody that we were very different. The Jehovah's Witnesses, you are shamed, humiliated, alienated from all of your peers or anything that's really normal. You have to sit out in the hall while they're having a birthday party or a Christmas party, or just what. I don't think a lot of people understand, like in depth, like how much that does to a person psychologically,
Especially if you don't believe it.
for life. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, let me ask you, and if this goes off topic or it's not relevant, just steer me back in again. But you mentioned demonic possession. So if somebody had a mental illness, and maybe I don't know if they considered alcoholism demonic possession, but in the Catholic Church for centuries they would perform exorcisms until the latter half of the 19th century, 18th or 20th century, when they decided that no, it's not demonic, it's really a psychiatric issue, and they would really refer them out. And I remember that because I grew up in that era.
Mhm.
So, but the way the Catholic Church dealt with it was that they would perform exorcisms. So I'm just trying to understand. So a Jehovah's Witness, they find somebody who's mentally unstable. What would be the wrong by labeling them demonic and trying to cure them of the demonic
Um,
possession?
I don't know, other than, I believe that my father was a narcissist or sociopath, who knows, probably both. But what it comes down to is the cover up of everything.
Okay,
And they
gotcha.
definitely don't want people knowing that they're covering for
No,
these uh, types of people that use religion to hide behind. And a lot of
pedophilia.
narcissists do that.
Yep.
And that's pretty much like their playground, and getting, everybody to support them when they're doing wrong and cover for them, although they'll get away with anything.
Okay, now that makes perfect sense now.
Yeah,
And
it's more of an, in fact, they believe that if someone commits suicide, you're pretty much like, they don't believe in like a heaven or hell per se, but it's kind of like you're pretty much just going to be like, that's it for you. You don't get to continue on into the new earth, or
so what happens to the 144,000 souls, or was that just a
They're raised
none
up
of
at
us
the end
really
after
know.
Armageddon. That's what they say. Oh,
Yeah,
well, that's the
yeah.
teaching.
I feel
oh,
like they make up stuff as they
oh,
go.
so if
I
you
really
die
honestly am starting to
before
feel.
Armageddon,
Some of them do.
you
Mhm.
don't get to go. Uh, well, a lot of them do. I
That's what
think
I'm saying.
c
Yes. I feel
Armageddon
like
No.
the
hasn't happened yet.
rules, they move the goalposts all the time, and
Yes.
they
Yes.
change the game, and the rules to the game all the time. So because it's harder to keep up with something like that that's confusing like that,
Right.
you know? And
Yes.
and to confuse keep your victims confused too is a tactic that is used,
Yes. The teachings are very
Okay.
fluid, and Jehovah's Witness is notorious for that right now. Like, they used to say men weren't
Mhm.
allowed to have beards, and now they're allowed to have beards. You couldn't get into higher education, and
Oh,
now they're
Yes, and it
changing
could
that
be
teaching,
different
and
from congregation to congregation.
right.
We would find out at the big conventions that they have that so and so gets to go to prom at their Kingdom Hall. How come we can't?
because each
You
Right.
know,
kingdom hall has their own,
Because
pretty
each
much.
autonomous.
elder,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
This is fascinating, and we're learning a lot, but let's get back to your story. Maybe we should I don't know where we left off. So how about we say this, how long have you been out of JW?
ever since I was 17 years
And
old,
you,
and
and
never
of
looked
course,
back.
I never ask a lady her age, but I don't know how old you are now.
That's okay. I am 45.
Oh, so
Or
you,
no, no,
you
no. I am 48.
okay?
I think I was born in 77. I am 48. I don't know
Here,
what I just
here
thought.
it comes. I would have said 35. So okay, so you've been out a while.
Yes.
What got you out? Let's go. So now I can go. Now I can reframe my question. So at 17, you left after, I'm guessing, the suicides, the
Yes.
deaths. Walk us through that. What at 17, you're still a minor, right?
Yeah, so they didn't want me to go to college. They don't encourage anyone to forward their career or do anything about, that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life serving God and going from door to door. You're not supposed to think about the worldly things that worldly people think about, which is going to school and getting an education and a career. But which doesn't make any sense because a lot of the elders, they have careers of their choices. But anyway, I had
Hypocrisy.
to, yes, at its finest.
Yes.
And I had to find a family member at the time who was not a witness to co-sign for me to be able to get grants and loans to go to school. And where I had applied for school to, I went behind their back and did it because I really wanted to go. I had been wanting, my whole life to get out of there, me and my siblings. So I had just, kind of started to work on my escape plan basically and pretty much be a good soldier until my day came. It was harder than it sounds to do that, especially in this situation, because they were really especially watching us extra close after my sister died because
Right.
they were really afraid that things were going to get out. So they really honed in on us pretty hard. I had run away from home a couple of times. My siblings did as well. Finally made it to the end, almost to my graduation. And my father threatened me that I wouldn't be able to graduate. I think they had learned that I had signed up for school and I had signed up for a CNA class outside of the community, outside of the town, a ways away from them. They did not like that. They threatened to take my means of transportation. I had a car, like anything to keep me from going. And I pretty much I just did it anyways. I mean, everything was a big fight, and I just did it anyways.
A lot of people that are Jehovah's Witnesses, they have some fear when they leave because they
Yes.
believe the Armageddon, and they believe they will only be saved from that if they stay in the organization. Now, did you not experience that fear? Was that not a factor for you? Or how much of it did you believe or not believe? What was that like for you?
Oh, definitely. It was definitely scary to think about all the ways that you could possibly fail and all the things that could go wrong because they don't really teach you any real life skills as far as with the other people and being in the world. Like
Right.
literally their strategy is to, that if you leave, okay, you can leave, you're not baptized or anything, but you're going to go out there in this big bad world and something
Right.
bad is going to happen to you because it does. That's life, happens to everybody.
Right.
But that's when you're going to realize you're going to come back.
Right. Okay, so you
They,
did have some
they,
of those fears because they'd probably been put into you from childhood.
yes,
Okay.
yes, there's just so many ways that you're not prepared
Right.
in any kind of way really for what's out there.
No, that you lack
But I figured
socialization.
anything was better than where I was at, and it didn't matter to me. I was gonna jump.
Right, and
I
that's
was
usually
willing
the
to
place where
take
most people come. They get to
yeah,
that point
yeah,
where
I was
this is so bad that if this means I'm gonna go to hell, I'm already there anyway.
yes, yes, pretty much hell on earth. So, you know that was pretty much how I got out. But yeah, the the guilt, the shame, that sticks with you for way much longer than a person would even realize, even when you do things or leave the way I did or something like that. Yeah, they really try to do everything they can to get you back
So once somebody,
because they know you don't have any way of other support or
no,
any
you
other
don't.
means out there. So naturally, you get scared, something terrifying happened, you want to go home or you want to go home to what you know, it seems safe, you
Yeah, we've
know.
heard a lot of people go back after they leave, they go back to the cult. But today in 2025, there are a lot more resources for people who are leaving cults
Yes.
online, and therapists are being trained and yada. When you, so at 17, you left,
Hmm.
and it sounded like it was an extremely difficult time
Yes.
for you,
Yes.
extremely difficult. So 17, were you married? Did you get married? Did you have children? Did you pursue a career? Walk us through some of that.
Yes, I've done quite a bit. I ended up going to school for a little bit, there when I first got out, and I was, doing healthcare for about 24 years of my life. I, was a CNA and did all kinds of other areas of healthcare. I've also done all kinds of, other work in the meantime. I've always been the kind of person I'm always ready and willing to learn something new, and plus I have fr a lot of the things I have done has come from the way I was raised, and I was on the run a lot in my life. I was on the run a lot, I moved around a lot, I avoided a lot of things, and when things got to whatever for me, that's what I would do. I would just pick up and move and run, kids and all. Yes, I did have kids. So I did have my first daughter. I got pregnant with her when I was only 19. Her father, a wonderful man. He is a nurse. He was just a few years older than me at the time, and I don't know if you could possibly imagine what kind of I want to call it wild, but maybe that's not the word. Unhinged. I don't know what you would call it when and you let loose. You're just
Oh, yeah, I
and to
know what you're
have, like,
talking
no
about.
control for the first time in my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
it's almost
wasn't
like you go off
shouldn't
the
have
rails
been
a little bit.
yeah, I shouldn't have been in a relationship, I shouldn't have been, you know, thinking about
Right.
having children or anything like that. Nothing our relationship didn't really last very long, but for a few years because I was ready to move on to another relationship, it wasn't him. In fact, still to this day, he is, one of my biggest, supporters.
Oh,
He
And
was
he's in
family
your,
to me. He is yes, he's been seen me go through a lot and then some,
and he's
he's
in your
just
daughter's life.
yes, oh,
Yeah.
yes, he pretty much actually so he kept our daughter under his roof for the most part. Like, I could come see her whenever I want. There were times that, we would have some kind of arrangement back and forth with her, whatever. We never had to go to court or anything like that. We just always worked out what was best. And one of the main reasons that he kept her when she was around 5 or after she was 5 years old was because I was in a relationship with somebody that I ended up having 2 children with, but it was an extremely violent,
mm,
abusive, narcissistic I met somebody basically just like my father, or not too far from it, minus the sexual abuse stuff. It seemed normal to me.
right?
But
I
you're in a
did not
jail.
know what it was. Yeah.
But still,
My
he had
father
the
did.
narcissistic tendencies. He had grandiosity. Yeah. So you
Yes.
sought out. It's not uncommon. You were
Yes.
wandering that desert of
Right.
after JW life, and
Yeah.
even though you met that other man. So let's walk us up. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the clock. Where At what point would you say between 17 and where you are now? would you say that, and or if you, and I don't if you are fully deconstructed, have you fully? Is this behind you, or are you still?
I think for the most part it is, and I think what really got me here this last really bad experience I had was after, like, losing my children. Their father got custody of them. It's been nothing but a fight in court. What was it? For about 12 or 13 years this went on. They I think what really got me here at the end, and I was literally done dealing with anything like that or any people like that, was the day I had my double mastectomy. And when I woke up from my surgery, the nurse said that I was asking for my children, the 2 younger ones, which were nowhere around because they've been turned against me.
Mm.
And they hit my account for back child support for 10 grand. And that was the day that I got home
You
from
had to
having
pay child support to him?
I did. He did a number on me. I thought my childhood was bad, but, that experience almost felt worse, what it put me through, what I went through losing my kids. The constant anxiety, constant state of anxiety that I was in, being away from them, being overly worried about them all the time. There was
Mm.
just, I went through so much. I didn't actually even start to get help therapy wise and start talking to somebody until just a few years ago. And they told me that I had complex PTSD and a whole long list of other things
Oh, I don't
because
doubt it.
I was on the verge. I literally felt myself breaking, which all of this, when it's designed to do that. All this stuff that I've been through is designed to break a person. You're not meant to make it out of these types of traumas and experiences.
But you did.
Yes, I did.
You did. It took some rough, it took the cancer to do that. It took court
Yes.
battle to do that. Are you so out of the 3 children you have, right?
3, yes.
How many are you in touch with?
2.
2. Okay. All right.
Wow.
My oldest one more than the others. My youngest daughter, mm, we're very close, but she definitely has what I feel is like what I had, Stockholm syndrome. You
Mm.
feel like, they stick up for the, perpetrator. So it's
Right.
just it's hard. And then also my son, is very seldom I see him, and they just live across town.
I was just gonna say, are they out of state or are they
Yeah, they live
local?
across town. My
Right.
oldest daughter, she lives in Kansas, and she tries to come see me and visit me whenever she can. Like I said, we're very close. She also went through a lot with this that
Right.
I don't think, others on the other side of the family even considered her at all in. They were just too busy attacking me. They didn't even care about her at all.
Wow.
So it has it has done a lot to me in my life.
Monique, and I've listened to many stories on here, this podcast and some other podcasts, and I have to. I'm looking at a very strong, very independent, very motivated woman who went through. I'm just listening, and it's boggling my mind. And now you get hit with this illness, and
Mhm.
you're sitting here telling your story, and kudos to you, really. It's just the bravery and the perseverance.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mel,
Thank
do you
you.
have
So,
any thoughts or
um,
questions
well,
before I like to start?
do
Go ahead.
you feel so you feel like for the most part you've deconstructed did you deconstruct the religious beliefs fairly quickly early on?
Yes. Like I said, me and my siblings, we never liked it.
Okay.
We never liked going to the meetings. We didn't like being abnormal, from our peers and not getting to do these things, and then plus, live in the home that we had to live in. So it was like we hated it the whole time.
Right.
There was never a time that we were, I think, really seriously thinking about getting baptized. It was just
Right.
never really anything that we considered
It's
heavy like
almost
that. And honestly, I think after what we went through, I think they just kind of left us alone with it. There
yeah.
may have been a couple times where we were kind of studying towards that, but then when that happened with my sister, that was pretty much
Yeah, the
they
deal
never said
breaker.
anything about that again.
What can
Yeah.
you say at that point with all the tragedy that you had endured, and
Yeah.
then something as tragic as that? That's probably the one time I've heard a JW elder or somebody actually make a right decision. Like, just back off. Just don't even
No,
approach
I
her.
don't think it was, they kept so much from us when it came to whatever the elders and
Mhm.
whatever meetings they had with my sister behind closed doors and, things like that.
Well,
They never shared with us
no, because it
who
was
said,
behind closed doors.
yeah,
That's the whole concept, and you will never know,
right,
unless one of them one
right.
day writes a book and something.
Yeah. So we doubted it, the whole time. And then as things continued to happen to, our family and family members and, myself.
So let me
I
ask you this: we're gonna begin to wrap up,
Okay.
and I'm gonna ask you a question. Melody has one, but I have one question before that, and
Okay.
Melody might too. From what I understand, you have a presence on social media, like, uh, I
Yes.
was it Facebook, TikTok? I don't.
Facebook,
Okay,
yes.
so what propelled you, or that might not be the right word, but it sounds like you went to social media to tell your story
Mhm.
and to come out and share that, because takes a lot of courage to do that, especially in the story you have. Has it helped? Has it healed? Has it worked? And not worked. Has it uh, gotten to where you are today? Because I could see where you are today. I When we do these podcasts, and this is a kind of a behind the scenes thing, we look at body language and
Mhm.
how the guest is. You haven't moved once. You're sitting
Oh.
perfectly still, which is good. No, your body language tells me that you're comfortable. You're telling your
Mhm.
story. You're not wiggling. You're not squirming, and you're not, which some people do because it's still very fresh. They've only been out of the cult a year. They've only, whatever.
Mhm.
It's a compliment,
Yeah.
just in case if it didn't come across that way. But did coming to social media and telling your story and now coming on podcasts, is you finding it helpful?
Okay, so I hadn't actually really thought about doing it too much before now because like Melody mentioned before, you do still have those feelings of guilt that come up and the shame because it is kind of, to let people know, and I'm talking about my family members too. And so it can be a lot of shame and a lot of guilt with that when you start to expose. Plus, any time in the past when we would try to expose anything or tell adults what was happening, we were punished.
Punished, yeah.
We were told that we were lying and things like that. And even though I'm an adult now, it's just still something about it that kind of sticks with you the whole
Yeah.
time. And I mean, I've had jobs, I take care of people in the healthcare. I did a lot of waitressing and server work and just all different kinds of dealing with different kinds of people in different settings and different work and stuff like that. So it's not like I can't, communicate with other people and handle myself in different situations. I'm better at it now than I used to be, but
You're
talk
amazing at it.
talking about it would it was just shameful.
Well,
It
there
felt
is
that
something to be
way.
said for shining a light on the dark
Yep.
places and not putting that stuff under the rug anymore. It can be very empowering
Yeah.
and it can be very freeing to your soul.
Yes. And honestly, I kind of felt like a lot of the stuff that I had been through caused my cancer
Mm.
Very interesting concept or theory.
because I felt like I was in survival mode my
Right.
entire life up until recently.
And the stress that that puts on your body can absolutely, there's scientific proof to that. So, um,
And just the fact that it was ongoing for a very, very long time
mhm.
from different people in my life, and it was always people that were supposed to love me and protect me.
Well,
So
there is
which
a
may,
saying
things
out
didn't
there.
really.
There's a
Yeah.
saying out there, and I wasn't going to say it, but because you said this, I'm going to say it because I didn't want to offend you in any way. But there is a saying called secrets make you sick. And
Mhm,
there is something
yes.
healing inside and out
mhm,
about speaking the truth, regardless of
Yep.
who it's going to
mhm.
offend or who it's going to upset, and just saying, this is my truth and I'm going to tell it. So I
Because
hope that you're
holding that,
feeling that way.
Mhm.
Monique,
The
holding all that in for those years, not being able to talk about it, not, I I'm therapy aside or any kind of help that you got, bottling all that in for all
Mhm.
those years can absolutely cause your physiological immune system to break down and so many other things. And the fact that you were surrounded by mental illness throughout your whole family and you're still here, which is just
Yeah.
an amazing testimonial to your, again,
Yes,
bravery, perseverance, um,
yes.
independence. Let me ask you my question, and then I'm going to throw it to Melody. So, brought up in JW,
Mhm.
didn't really. I did hear you say this once or twice that you just went along with it, but you didn't really believe in it, which is a lot of children do.
Yeah.
Here you are now at in your 40s. Where is your faith? Do you have a higher power? Do you have a God? Do you believe in God, or are you? I'll leave it there. I don't like to lead you on the question. I
Okay.
want you to answer the question.
So, I would say that I'm a spiritual person, not religious, not agnostic, atheist, nothing,
Okay.
but spiritual. And that's the one I feel like is the one that fits me the most because to me it's more about experiences. It's more about me, the internal. I do believe that there is a higher power, God. Obviously, our universe is endless and everything is magnificently detailed, made, created. There is a creator. We do have a
Okay.
creator. I believe that, a lot of the work that, I don't place it on an external. And not that there's anything wrong with that if people wanna do that, whether it be a cross or, whatever. Um, Mine is more of an internal
Good. Okay.
thing.
Let
I feel like he does the work through us because we are of him.
Great
is
answer.
how I
Yeah.
ended up feeling about it, and it's all just personal. I feel like how I feel is personal and unique to how I feel and what I believe.
And that's all that matters.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
what
Um,
matters. It's about
Whatever
you.
makes whatever makes a person be a good person, whatever that is or looks like for
Mm.
an individual, and the spiritual part of it, even a lot of it I had to kind of surrender to a lot of things and just kind of let the universe take care of me.
And I think it's trying to do that.
Yes.
Let's hope it doesn't it continues to do that. Melody, would you like to ask your question?
yes. If Monique, if somebody is listening to the show today, maybe they're a child, a teenager that's trapped in an organization or religion, maybe even Jehovah's Witness, that they don't really believe and they feel like they're there because their parents are forcing them to be. I'm wording my question a little different based on your personal experience, and they happen to be sneaking this listen to our podcast. So let's say, what would be your words of advice to them?
That surviving what you survived doesn't mean you're broken. It means you adapted. And the coping skills that kept you alive once may not serve you forever, but they were necessary. And you don't need to be ashamed of how you had to survive. Because people raised in cults often carry shame for how they coped. And you don't have to be strong all the time. Rest is not quitting, and needing help is not weakness.
Ugh.
Being soft after being hardened by trauma is not failure, it's healing.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Monique. We can't thank you enough for being so vulnerable and brave and coming on the show to share your story.
I have one final question because when I hear a guest tell a story that just like I heard tonight, and I heard one last night, I want to ask because I think it's an important question. Do given the fact I know you're recovering and you have a lot on your plate health wise, do you think you have a book in you?
I think I do.
I think you do too. It's just finding the time, I guess, um,
Yes.
but I think you would have a phenomenal book on your hands. So,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and
Eh,
and
Quite
and
a
I
story.
hope that you're able to heal, get
Yes.
better, and maybe
Yes.
pursue that. And if you do,
mhm.
you're welcome back to come on the show at any time to talk about the book, promote the book, share the book with our audience.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
Monique,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much. All right.
And once again, we want to thank Monique so much for coming on the show and sharing her story with us. Wow, Andrew. Wow.
I'm
I,
blown away. I'm just blown
yeah.
away.
Yeah, I
Seriously.
mean, I knew very little about her story other than her aunt reaching out and saying that she wanted to share her story with us on the show, and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, send her our way." That's real, and that she was an ex-JW. And that she was fighting the breast cancer. That's really pretty much all I knew. But wow, that's
And in true fashion to the audience, Melody let me know last night what we were the guests we had tonight. And when I heard about the cancer, I said, wow, that's going to put a whole new twist on this one.
yeah,
And it really did. And you know what? She's got an interesting point when she said she wonders if all the trauma that she has endured brought on the cancer.
yeah,
And I wholeheartedly believe that. I think cancer, and I could cite examples, but I'm not going to because it would break some anonymity and people
right.
would be bored. Of people that I know in my life that have cancer that brought it on themselves. And I don't mean that in a nasty way, but
Right.
their lifestyle or I'm surprised I don't have it, and the audience doesn't know me, but I have not lived a very healthy lifestyle, and blah 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 blah. But I need a piece of wood. Hold on a second. Let me knock a piece of wood.
Yes,
So far,
there you
so
go,
far,
Andrew. Yes,
so
don't
far, I've been
tempt
lucky,
fate.
and don't tempt fate. But no, thank you, Monique, so much for just even if the cancer wasn't part of the story, just the
Right.
story itself was
Oh,
heartbreaking. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and I
wow,
hope I hope
I
that
got
her coming
chills.
on the show and sharing with us and our audience has brought her a little bit more closure,
Hmm.
a little bit more healing, a little bit more peace. That's my hope for her. Um,
And I hope she gets a chance to put it out on in a book format or something,
yeah.
some sort of format where she can get her story out
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I don't think she's on TikTok, but maybe she should start getting on TikTok too to share her story because there is a
Okay.
whole ex-JW community out there.
Yep.
So if she
Hmm.
doesn't have maybe the energy to start writing a book right now, she could just start with small video clips and then eventually turn those into a book. Use those clips to turn it into a
But
book.
she's on Instagram or just Facebook?
You know what? I found her on Facebook. I have not looked for her on Instagram. She may be on Instagram, but I'm not 100% sure. But obviously, whatever social media she has will be in the show notes. So you'll know as the audience, you'll be able to scroll down and find it. So, but yeah, we once again want to thank Monique for coming on the show and sharing her story and being so vulnerable with all of us. And as always, thank you to all of you as well for tuning into Cultimatum. We do appreciate your support in our mission to expose the truth and highlight the voices of these survivors.
If you're enjoying the show, please take a moment to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps more people find the podcast. And don't forget to follow, share, and keep tuning into our latest episodes.
And you can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube for additional content and updates.
Be sure to join our Facebook community, Cultimatum Podcast, where we dive deeper into these important topics and remind you when new episodes are available.
And if you are a survivor and you're looking for additional support and community, we invite you to join the Cult Escape and Healing Group on Facebook.
You can find more information about the production studios, the Anonymous Andrew Podcast production studios that produce these podcasts. Or if you'd like more information, especially if you want to read over our legal disclaimer, head over to cultimatum.podcast.com and you'll get all that information over there.
And if you have a story related to cults or human trafficking that you would like to share with us, please contact us at cultimatumpodcast@gmail.com.
And most importantly, because we have to pay the bills, if you'd like to help us support the show, you can do that by clicking on the link in the show notes. Melody put a link called Buy Us a Cup of Coffee. And it's a simple thing. So you may have listened to other podcasts, and some podcasts have Patreon accounts where you sign up as like a club or a subscription and you pay monthly. We don't do that now, or I don't know if we're going to do it, but we do ask for donations. And by clicking on Cup of Coffee, you can donate $5 or $10 at your leisure. You could do one this month, one next month, or skip 2 months. Unlike Patreon, where I think you have to pay each month. I don't know that for a fact. But anyway, your support helps us go a long way and helps us keep the lights on and keep bringing these stories to you.
And as always, stay safe, stay informed, and remember, you are not alone.